You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 152. And if you'd like to get featured on top podcasts too, you're going to want to hear my 6 secrets to getting booked on popular podcasts. So let's get started.
Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Hey, are you a thought leader, creative entrepreneur, or change maker and want to magnify your impact, boost influence while creating a financial abundance? Stay tuned for today's inspiring episode with your host, Melanie Benson.
Hello there, inspired entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's your host, Melanie Benson here, profit amplifier to expertpreneurs across the globe. And today I want to reveal 6 secrets to getting your message shared on popular podcasts. That means you are going to learn how to pitch yourself and actually get on some of the big name podcasts. And let me just tell you something, getting on podcasts, no matter what type of audience they have, is great exposure. But if you really want to up your game, you want to make a bold move, you need to get on popular big name podcasts, because that's where you're actually going to get clients, you're going to get more leads, and it's going to really be a great return on your investment. And as I'm airing this episode, we are just wrapping up the Own Your Bold Influence Challenge. I host it once a year. It's a free challenge when it's live. And on day 2, I teach what the most valuable influence boosting platforms are. And it might not surprise you that one of the most chosen that everybody posts about and says they want to get on more podcasts is podcast guesting. And I think it's because it's fast visibility. It's pretty much zero cost. It's just your time. It's a really great way to leverage other people's audiences. So think of it like you're going to speak at someone's event, but instead of having to get on a plane, you just get on your mic and your computer and record an episode with them. And sometimes they're live shows, but they are absolutely valuable exposure. However, because it's becoming so popular, guess what? The best podcast hosts are slammed with requests. And what often happens is, instead of getting on these podcasts, you get your pitch in the trash can. So I'm going to kind of unpack some of the tips and tricks behind this. Then when you're following the process that I lay out for you in the Own Your Bold Influence Challenge, you'll have an 80% to 100% success rate rather than a 10 to 20% success rate. Now, if you miss the Own Your Bold Influence Challenge, you're like, Melanie, I don't want to wait till next year. How do I get in? You can still get access to the 5-day training plus my bonus training on the Bold Influence Formula, which is what sets you apart from everyone else in the industry, because no one else has your Bold Influence Formula. And you can get access to it at ownyourboldchallenge.com. Plus, I've made available 12 power-packed influencer experience sessions with some really amazing influencers in my space who have different pieces of the puzzle to help you get more traction. Like, we've got Corey Poirier talking about how to land branded talks like TEDx and Blue Talks. I've got Kim Seltzer coming to talk about how to really boost your confidence from the inside out by having a little tweak to your style. We've got Rhonda Britton talking about how to stop procrastinating and really overcome your fear of success. We have Kim Sutton, who's come to talk about leveraging Pinterest. We had so many amazing people. You've got to come check it out. Every single thing you could imagine to need to boost your influence is available in the influencer experience. And it's for the price of less than a dinner out with you and your mate. So come grab your all access pass at ownyourboldchallenge.com. Now, let me get back in and go a little deeper with this idea of the 6 secrets to getting your message on popular podcasts. Now, if you and I are new friends, you may not know that although this podcast is just about to enter into its 3rd year, I've been hosting podcasts and online telesummits and CD clubs for close to 18 years. So I've had a lot of exposure with people pitching me to get on one of my platforms. And so having been a guest myself on probably close to 200 or 300 shows over the years, and having so many people approach me to get on my platforms, here's what I know. There is a right way, and then there is a way that will get your ask right in the trash can. And I will be in full disclosure, as a person who's willing to take bold action, I've done it wrong many, many times. I've learned a lot in these last few years as the podcasting industry has evolved more, and people way more sophisticated at this than me have shown me really beautiful and graceful ways to get asked to be on their podcast. So I want to share a little bit with this, because if you're going to pitch me or you're going to pitch any of these big name shows, I want you to have your best chance of success. So let me start with some of the things you do want to do. First and foremost, and I cannot say this enough, you need to do your research and know the podcast or the show, if it's a live show, before you pitch yourself, okay? Even if they're a friend or someone you know through some other events, or you have some common ground, before you pitch yourself, get familiar with what they're about, who their audience is, and what, how your topic will fit in. Here's why. Because if you pitch yourself on this show and they invite you, by the grace of God, without you doing any research, and you show up and flub it because you don't really know what the show's about, it's not great. And, podcasters talk. It's kind of a tight community. The other thing is, why would you want to be on someone's show if it's not a good fit? I had this really interesting experience with a woman. I might have mentioned this before, but it really sticks in my mind that there was a lady who, I go to an event as an icon. I'm one of the podcast hosts that people want to pitch to get on my show. And there was this lady really nervous, really upset. She was, wanting to get her pitch perfect. So every single host would invite her. There's 40 plus hosts there. And I said, look, you don't want to be on all of our shows. We don't all have your perfect client. She goes, yes, you do. I want to be on everyone's show. I'm like, no, you don't. Trust me, it's a lot of work if you're doing it right. And if you're spending all this time and energy on shows that don't cater to your ideal clients, all you're going to do is get a bunch of non-ideal clients coming to you, even if you have the best topic in the world. So I think doing a little research, finding out a little bit about this show, really looking at the other topics to make sure it's not a complete overlap of something that's just been done. So you can kind of maybe tweak your pitch a little bit to a topic that's unique to you, but maybe not been overdone. This is how you really make sure you're putting your best message in front of this host. Now, research aside, one thing that I think is critical is to recognize that these podcast hosts are getting millions, if not hundreds of pitches, right? I probably get a good 200 pitches in a week. Yeah, right? So you can imagine I don't have time to look at all these pitches. So what you want to do is stand out to the host. If this host is savvy at all and on social media, then chances are they pay attention on their own social media channels. So create some buzz for them. Share some of the episodes that you've liked when you're looking at their show. Spend some time following them on the different social media platforms that you're on. This is how you stand out amongst all the other people that are pitching. Okay, so it takes a couple of minutes. It is a little bit intentional. No, you don't have to do all of it yourself. Once you've looked at the show or your assistant has looked at the show, then you can actually, kind of hand some of this off. But it's still important to get active and in front of these hosts. Now, here's a third thing to really pay attention. If you are chosen, be a good guest. And guess what? When somebody pitches me to be on my show, what do you think I'm going to do? Because I personally choose every single person that comes on my show. I'm actually going to go look and see what kind of guest are they. Have they been sharing anybody else's show that they've been on, right? Are they active on social media? Now, you might think, well, Melanie, I'm coming and giving my message and I'm putting my effort and my wisdom on your show. Isn't that enough? Well, guess what? In this day and age when podcasting is so popular and so many people are vying for that spot, and marketing in your world, imagine what it would cost to get this kind of visibility. If you were going to travel to someone's event and speak at their event, it's going to cost you a couple grand, right? You're not spending a dime usually to get on someone's show. Your currency is the review you leave on iTunes and the sharing you give to your episode. So if you've been creating buzz for other people's shows, and or you've been posting about my podcast, and I am evaluating you and seeing what kind of guest you might be, who do you think I'm going to pick between the person who's got a similar topic and you? If you've been buzzing about my show, I'm picking you. So be a good guest. Now, it's not going to guarantee you're getting on their show, because sometimes it's just not a good fit, or there's been an overlap in a topic, or even though you think it's a great fit, the host doesn't quite get it, which might come back to you and your bold influence formula. So we might want to work on that. But let's really double down and make sure you're getting the best chance. Now, I've got another thing to do, but I want to cover a couple of don'ts first, and then we'll end on a positive note. Here's 2 things to never do. First of all, don't make the host guess the best way to showcase you. Okay, I know that everyone's busy and you may actually be outsourcing some of these forms to an assistant or a publicist, and that's great. I love leverage. But if you don't have a really well-written media kit, which means you have an outline of your topic and some sample questions and what you're going to give away, and or even like how to partner up and do an affiliate tracking, all of these things, if it's organized in advance, your host will do a good job of showcasing you. What's bad, and surprisingly, a lot of people who are supposedly good marketers do this all the time, they make you work. They send you back over and over and over again to a link where all your material is, aka you're being lazy or your assistant is being lazy. Figure out what you want to pitch your topic. Give the host a topic, maybe 2 topics that would be perfect for their show. Give them some great questions to ask you. Now, of course, not all hosts use standard questions, and if they do, a savvy host will spin those questions into their own voice. I always do that. But look, if I don't know you well or the host doesn't know you well, I don't have time to go and research you for 2 hours to get your best topic out of you. Don't be lazy. Be a great guest. Make it easy for whatever host you're pitching your show to spotlight you. And guess what? If you don't do it, chances are they won't do a good job, and you're not going to get the traction out of the show anyway. So the takeaway here, have a really well-designed media kit online. Use a Google Doc. Give 2 or 3 suggested topics. Give several questions they can ask. Have an up-to-date bio, and really easy ways to get your get images of you so they can use them in their marketing so that they will showcase you well. Now, I use a form, which I highly recommend. So if you're going to pitch to someone who has a form, do the job for them. Don't just give your links. It's just not great. It's not a great way to showcase that you're going to be an awesome guest. Let's put it that way. Can you tell this is a hot button of mine? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, here's a second don't. And this might be surprising to you. Don't over-rely on hired agencies to pitch you. Yeah, the leverage queen has said it out loud. Don't over-rely on a third party to pitch you. Here's why. First of all, many of these type of podcasts, when you get on their show, it's based on personal relationship and or connection. And so when a hired agency is pitching you, unless this agency has a really great relationship with you, they're not paying attention. 9 out of 10 pitches I receive are from hired agencies, and I ignore them. Why? Because I know they're not going to do anything to promote the show when it goes live. If you're hiring someone to pitch you, I get it. Like, we definitely want to leverage our time, and I think that's awesome. But I don't know if you're going to be a good guest unless I go check out your social media and see that you actively share your show, the shows that you're featured on. So it's not a guarantee you're going to get on great shows. It might help you get in front of more audiences, and you may get some of them to say yes. I usually say yes to 1 out of the 10 pitches I get because someone's just got a great topic. But I'm still looking for, are you actually going to do a good job sharing the show once you get picked? Now, let's go back to a positive and talk about this idea of connecting with hosts. And it might blow your mind how valuable this one step is. So I talked about creating some buzz. I talked about being a good guest, share your show, leave a review on iTunes. These are all great things, but connecting with your host and going a little above and beyond is massively helpful. So I thought I'd give you a couple of examples of some ways and people have done this, and it got them on my podcast. You'll be hearing from them in the next few months. One, she was using a third-party agency, and they pitch me stuff all the time, and I never pay attention. And I didn't pay attention to the first pitch. But this is where Polly went above and beyond in her second step. She had them send me a personalized audio message. And she went out of her way to listen to my show and tell me about the episodes she liked, and then told me more about her topic and why she felt so passionate about sharing her message and what she thought it would bring my audience. So guess who's paying attention now, right? I did listen to the message. It was personal, and it felt like she was connecting with me. So when you want to get to me, that connection is golden. And it was a really nice touch, and I am going to book her. It's just her topic was a little bit too close to someone else's that was recent. So Polly, if you're listening, you are getting booked. It's just going to take a little bit to come back and get you on the show when we have a little bit of a gap. Now, the second one, this woman named Jessica approached it very differently, but just as effective. So Jessica, interestingly enough, I had to figure out how we originally connected. I actually shared a blog post of hers. We're on sheownsit.com site, and I shared an article of hers. And then she started asking me about my podcast, if I was accepting guests. And I asked her straight out, well, do you listen to the show? And if so, what episodes do you really like the most? Because I want to know if she's listening. So not only had she been listening and she told me which episodes she loved, she then went and shared on every single social media platform multiple podcast episodes that she liked. And she keeps sharing. She just shared this morning as I'm recording this. Oh my gosh, I just listened to another one of these podcast episodes, and it was pure gold. It was the episode I did with Carrie Heaps. And so guess what happens? Every time she shared, she's getting higher and higher on my radar. So even though her original pitch may not have really stood out to me because her topics, I was like, oh, those are interesting, but it didn't blow me away. The fact that she put so much effort into showcasing and giving value and being a great guest before she ever got on the show, she's getting on the show. Now, not everyone's going to work out that way. Like I said before, sometimes the guest just isn't a good fit, or I don't see how it's going to add value to my audience, or, whatever. Maybe it's too much of an overlap. But these are the things that will give you that top 10% chance of getting booked where everyone else is just noise and getting the delete button treatment, right? So I would love to hear if you have anything additional you would add to this conversation. If you've been getting booked on some great shows, what's been working for you? Have you found some ways that sending an email pitch is working for you? Great. Now I will say one last little tip. Having your own show and really nurturing your own influence platforms and creating buzz around your name makes a huge difference. Before I knew any of these rules, I was a little blind and I was a little, kind of naive. And I would write emails once in a while to people who I thought I might make a good fit on their show. And I may not have even listened to their show 100%, but I recognized the name, or I knew a little bit about the person. And I was getting booked. Why? Because there was buzz around my name. And this just goes back to, have you found a way to really amplify your work out there in the world? Are you feeling like a best kept secret, or are you really out there in a bigger way? So 2 things. If you haven't yet gone into my free community, Amplify Your Success Community, these are the conversations we're having. I want to open up a conversation about getting pitched on podcasts, what's working, what's not working. Let's do some gathering of knowledge from the tribe. And secondly, if you're noticing that you could use some help getting a better pitch together, getting a better topic that really stands out, really finding your bold influence formula, and you've been struggling with this for a while, then let's talk. I might be able to close some of those gaps for you and find some things that are in your blind spot so that you can actually start to ramp up and supercharge not just your message, but your visibility and your results. So thanks for tuning in today. I can't wait to hear the buzz that gets created around this episode. Bye for now. This is Melanie Benson, your host. Thanks so much for listening in today. If you want to catch up on any of the show notes and circle back on any of the resources we shared in today's show, head on over to the show page at amplifyyoursuccesspodcast.com. And remember, you amplify your results faster when you're in a community of other people who are moving and shaking. Join us at amplifyyoursuccesscommunity.com. One last thing. When you've gained insight from today's episode, help us share that and inspire other people by heading over to iTunes, subscribing, and give it a review. iTunes absolutely loves seeing these reviews pop up, and it actually helps boost my show's visibility. So I would be super grateful for your reviews. And as always, I love seeing your shares of these episodes on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Come find me over there. Tag me in your shares. I'll give you some social media love right back. So see you next week for another inspiring episode of Amplify Your Success Podcast.